Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to share with you the ultimate packing list for a 14-night trip to Japan. You can adapt this for 7 nights, but this is going to give you some pro tips. It's going to give you what clothes to bring, some essential items, the tech that you would need, the apps that I feel is beneficial to download, what not to bring, what don't you need, and also what's unique to Japan that you will need. There'll be some tips and tricks along the way, so please stay tuned, and I'm sure you'll find it a very useful video. If it helps you in any way, please give me a thumbs up, or give your tips and tricks to help other people know what to bring for a 14-day trip to Japan. Now this one is going to be specific to autumn because that's the time that we travelled. I know that they have 4 seasons in Japan and they're all very different. So this one is specific to autumn. And what is the ideal packing list for a trip in autumn? So the first thing we're going to look at is the clothes. Number 1 item on the list, of course, is comfortable shoes. There should be a large element of walking, but also walking around temples, walking around towns. Make sure your shoes are comfortable. Make sure you've broken those shoes in. Make sure that you're fine in those shoes, and make sure that you have a change of shoes just in case your shoes get wet, because there's nothing worse than walking around in a wet pair of shoes. In autumn, it can be anything from humid to rainy to very cold as you're getting towards winter. You can see the difference in temperatures on the chart on the screen, but we went in October towards November and we had lovely weather. So my advice would be to bring layers. We took waterproof hooded coats, we took fleeces, we took plenty of cotton t-shirts and cotton trousers, maybe even linen trousers, just breathable fabrics, but pack light. So maybe bring 3 pairs of trousers, 5 t-shirts, to a fleece. 1 fleece is all you probably need, and 1 hooded coat. If you are coming towards the end of autumn, so towards November, going into December, it would be advisable to bring a hat, scarf and gloves, something warm, and maybe a heavier coat. If you're going to somewhere like Disney, it might be an idea to bring a pair of waterproof trousers, because you don't want to be out of action for a full day just because it's going to rain all day. So an idea is, we brought a pair of hiking trousers, the coated waterproof ones, but luckily we didn't need them. But they're worthwhile to have just in case. And I know I'm saying do not overpack, but it's worth thinking on just in case you do get caught in that situation. Something else is useful to have is grippy socks. So you won't be able to wear shoes in temples. You'll have to take your shoes off. So if you've got socks with the grip on the sole, it's just a bit safer, especially for children or older people. My mum was 83 when we travelled, and you know, it's just a reminder to bring those socks, have them in your rucksack, have them in your day bag for going into temples and stuff. Another useful thing might be a foldable umbrella. We brought 1 umbrella, but we used the hoods on our jackets. It didn't rain an awful lot for us, but still it's worthwhile having a foldable umbrella just in case you do get a big downpour and it's needed. And just to give you an idea, I'm going to share on the screen a fleece kind that we took, a sip up, and the rain jacket that I wore. It was lightweight because it was warmer when we went, but as I say, if you're getting towards winter, use a heavier one. Just in case you get a heat wave, sometimes a fan is useful, but there are plenty of fans in Japan, so you can buy one there. One piece of advice that I was given before we went, I have a 14-year-old daughter who lives in leggings in the UK, so they're not advisable in Japan, so just wear maybe jogging bottoms or tracksuit bottoms or something like that, or jeans, rather than the really tight leggings and gym wear, really. It's frowned upon in Japan, so just bear that in mind. And just on the clothes as well, don't forget a cap or a hat, because it can be quite sunny, and you don't want to be caught out in a strong sun if you're out all day without a hat. So another essential item to bring. So just coming on to some essential travel items that are useful in Japan, but also useful elsewhere. First of all, we had a big suitcase, and in that suitcase we packed a smaller suitcase because we knew that in Japan we would want to be bringing back souvenirs and lots of lovely things, and we did. So we travel light, and that's the other reason why it's important to travel light, so that you've got that case when you get to the other side. Obviously, we brought back things like lots of Kit Kats. We brought back this little bento box, Hello Kitty, just lovely little souvenirs. You can see my little Kimmy doll behind me. So yeah, you wanna leave yourself plenty of space for your souvenirs. The other important item that we felt that we brought was a rucksack. Now, they have a fantastic luggage forwarding service in Japan. So when we went to our first time, we sent our bags on to our next destination. So our full videos are on our channel if you want to watch those. It gives you our day-to-day, what we did, what our itineraries were, etc. So have a watch at those. You might find some good tips and tricks in there as well. But what we did was we used that luggage forwarding service, so that we used our rucksack to travel light between cities. If you bring your luggage on the Shinkansen, you have to book luggage space. And we couldn't be bothered with all that. I didn't want to do that. So what we just did is we used the luggage forwarding service, forward our luggage on, and just brought a rucksack for the 2 days. Now, in all of the locations that we stayed, there was washing machines. So we travelled light. We travelled with like 3 pairs of trousers maximum, 5 t-shirts, and we just washed as we went along, and it worked out fantastic. It was easy to use, and there was dryers, etc. So just take advantage of that, so that you're not having to carry huge luggage around the place. There's steps in the undergrounds, there's steps in the train stations, and you don't want to be up and down the stairs with a big heavy luggage and suitcase. So take advantage of that service. It wasn't expensive, and it's the most efficient way to travel. The other thing that we had was a crossbody bag. You can see it in the video here, just a little clip of it, and in there we put our valuables, like passports, money, documents, etc. So we kept them with us on there, and you've got your hands free, and it's really useful. So also, Japan is quite a safe country, but in a country that's not so safe, these are really great because they give you more security. But no country is 100% safe. Good to have your wits about you. Another useful tip that we did, and also for any travel, is packing cubes. So then you can put your different items in each one. Each one of my family has a different colour packing cube, so we know whose is whose. Also, what we did was we packed a suitcase for the end of the holiday and a suitcase for the beginning of the holiday, so that we knew that what was in that last suitcase didn't get opened. So you're not in and out of different suitcases for everything. So we were able to just live out of one suitcase for the first half of the holiday, and then the other suitcase for the second half of the holiday. Bringing weighing scales with you is also a travel weighing scale, and I'll link all of these down below of what we used, because you don't want to go over and have that hefty fee when you get to the airport. Of course, USB adapters and travel adapters, it's going to be different in Japan. It's definitely different from the UK. It's different from the US. I'm not sure what it is for Australia, but double check your adapter. So we got a universal one again from Amazon, which I'll link below. One for USB, so it had like 4 USBs that we could put into one plug, and another one for things like hair dryers or straighteners or that sort of thing, or toothbrush chargers. So you'll need both. You'll need one for your USB items and one for a plug adapter. The other thing that we find useful is some people in our party may snore. And we had 4 people in a room. We had my mum, my daughter, my husband and myself, and some people snore. So we brought earplugs just to be on the safe side, because if you're sharing a big room, you don't want people to be kept up all night. So earplugs was a good idea for us. The other thing is, obviously, you have to be quiet on trains. There's no talking, no shouting, no listening to music on your phone the way they do in the UK, which is so rude. So it's a lovely, peaceful experience. So for that reason, if you want to watch your phone and you want to watch YouTube on your phone, etc., you want to watch my travel tips, bring earbuds. So we brought in-ear ones, but you can also have the over the head ones, just as long as you bring any kind to not disrupt other people on the train, which is polite, and you know, it's the way it has to be done. So and I think it's the best way to do it as well. It gives you a lovely experience on those trains, and if you watch my videos, you'll see they're one of the highlights of my trips overall. The other thing that we brought everywhere with us was power banks, because we were traveling from one place to the other. There's not always somewhere to charge your phone, so they're on the trains. They're brilliant. So we got these little, I'll take a picture and share it here. We got these little retractable chargers with 3 different charger heads. I don't know what they're called, and then you can charge whatever you need to from them. So you can do that on the train, or you can do that on your power bank if you've got one. So we always had a power bank with us. We kept that in our luggage. We kept our retractable chargers, and we were good to go. So we thought we were the most intrepid travelers in the world. So that was fantastic. SIM cards. We got our SIM cards for all of our phones on Amazon before we went. And these SIM cards worked in Japan for the full 2 weeks. They weren't expensive. They didn't break the bank. I think they were £15. One of them was £15, one of them was £20, even though they did the same job. It went up by the time I'd bought it. They were easy to use. You just put the SIM, switched it out. You can still use WhatsApp, but you've got your still same number on there. And then, yeah, it was fantastic. So that was really useful. Make sure you get your SIM card. You can buy one in Japan when you go there, and you can also buy the little mini Wi-Fi, the portable Wi-Fi. It's just up to you and your preference, but we preferred to go with the SIM card. You can also do eSIM, so you don't need to switch out your SIM card, and that's another easy option. But it is vital to have some sort of Wi-Fi in Japan for accessing Wi-Fi, because you're going to need Google Maps, you're going to need Google Translate, you're going to need all different manner of apps, etc. Which brings us on to our next tip: what apps to download before you go. So I would suggest those 2, definitely Google Maps and Google Translate. We were able to translate menus. We were able to go anywhere we needed to, just using Google Maps. So yeah, it was definitely worthwhile doing. The other thing is just to get a basic level of Japanese. I downloaded Duolingo and did that for 90 days before we went. Got a basic understanding of Japanese, so I knew how to say, where's the train station? But if they went into a full dialogue after that, I wouldn't have known, but at least, you know, we can point our way out of it. So it just helps to understand. Some what not to brings. We felt toiletries, you don't need it. Hairbrushes and toothbrushes were readily available in every hotel we stayed at. So in my opinion, you don't need those. It gives yourself, free up some space in your bag. You really don't need to bring them. So it's up to you if you have a specific thing that you need to use, or you've got allergies or that sort of thing. But other than that, it's not needed. Moving on to credit cards. Again, this is for any travel situation, but particularly in Japan. So we've got a Revolut card and a Clarity card from Halifax. Be different in your country, but basically it is a travel credit card. So it charges at 0% fee. So if you use the credit card anywhere in Japan, you don't get charged any conversion rates. You can just use it like you would at home. So if you look into a travel credit card that will give you 0 fees. The Revolut card is one that you load in advance, so you wait until the exchange rate's good, or the yen to dollar, pound, whatever is good, and then you load an amount up in advance, and then you know the rate you're getting, so you're not taking the chances on the day. It's just a personal preference. We use both. We use them wherever we go, so it's good to look into and make sure that you carry that around with you in your little crossbody bag or your personal belongings everywhere, because it's essential. Thinking about medications as well, there is a website in the Japanese government website to go and check to see whether your medications can be taken into the country. Things like asthma inhalers, blood pressure medication are all fine, so there'd be no issues at all. It's just that certain other medications, ADHD medications, just double check on there, make sure that you're compliant and you're allowed to bring them into the country. Otherwise, keep your medication with you at all times. Things like painkillers we bring with us, because we wouldn't know what the Japanese term for that is, or what different brands or strengths there are in Japan. So we bring things like that with us, so that if we're caught out and we need that, antihistamines, bite cream, etc. Make sure that you've got that with you. The other thing that we made sure that we had with us was paper tickets. So if we bought anything in advance in the UK, things like our tickets up to the Skytree, we printed out the piece of paper with the barcode on it. So we just had to walk up to the scanner and scan that barcode. We probably could have still done it in our phones, but if anything was wrong with the Wi-Fi, etc., we were just a little bit worried. So in Japan, we don't do this anywhere else. We just had a paper copy as well as backup. Same with insurance, because all of those documentations are all on my phone and my emails. But if anything happened to me, then it would be difficult for my husband or my mother to get that information. So I make sure I print that off and keep it in my suitcase. And I do that for any travel. Another thing that we did was printed off, well, I did, was printed off all of the addresses in Japanese and English. So I listed all the towns that we were going to stay in, and then the name of the hotel and the street in both Japanese and English. So if we got separated from one another, we had that piece of paper and we could show it and ask, could you tell me how to get to here? I did one for all four of us, so each person had a paper copy if they got lost or if we got separated. Snacks. Bring snacks from home if you've got fajita in particular. We brought things like breakfast bars or protein bars, especially for my husband, because when he's hungry, he needs fed. So we brought quick things like that we needed. Just bear in mind, do not bring fruit into Japan, do not bring meats into Japan. My mum forgot she had an apple in her bag and we got stopped at the airport. So just remember, you can bring stuff into Japan, things like candy and snacks, but don't be bringing meat or fruit. So a couple of items that we feel is unique to Japan is yen. Obvious one, but cash is king in Japan, and you will need yen. So we find that our tour guides wanted to be paid in cash. If you're using a vending machine, if you want to use the gachapon, or street vendors for food, they're all going to take cash, so you'll need cash. Taxis do take credit card as well, but they prefer cash. There isn't really a tipping culture in Japan, but if you wanted to leave, you could. Gift shops as well want cash, and I don't know if we used the wrong one, but we got our suica card, which is just for real travel, and you can also use it in grocery stores. We got our suica card before we left the airport, which I think is a really good tip and the best way to do it. And then we went to top it up, and it only took cash to top it up. So I don't know if we went to the wrong machine, but that's another thing that you might need cash for, to top up your suica card. Now I'll show a little video of us using that, going through the turnstiles. It's super easy, it's really convenient, so it's a good idea to get those at the airport before you leave. Another thing unique to Japan is hand towels. Now they are a very clean country, spotless, but in the toilets you find soap, etc., but you won't get any hand towels. And we were caught out a few times, and you don't want to be drying your hands on your trousers, so just remember a hand towel when you go. And we actually bought them in Japan, so it was a nice souvenir as well. Also, what you don't need in Japan, we found there was toiletries everywhere. There was abundance of toiletries in all of our hotels. There was also toothbrushes and hairbrushes. So for us, that's one way to limit what you're bringing in your case. Don't bring those. You don't need them. Obviously, if you've got allergies or something that you particularly need to use, by all means, but it's just an idea of give you how to travel a bit more light, especially when you're just using a rucksack between towns and you don't want to be carrying a heavy big bottle of shampoo. So that's a good tip. So that is our ultimate guide to your packing list for Japan. I really hope you find it useful. If you did, please don't forget to give us a like and subscribe, and a lovely thumbs up. Leave any comments if you think that I've missed anything or that really helped you, and that you want to share with other people. Don't forget that all of our Japan vlogs are on our page, so go and have a look. You never know, you might enjoy some. But thank you for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure. We thoroughly enjoyed Japan, and we just wanted to give back to some people because we know how difficult it is planning a trip to Japan. It's completely different culture. It's a bit worrying. There's nothing to worry about. So I hope that this has helped in some way, and thank you again for watching.